And next up, we got Marlon Vera, Davy Grant. And Davy Grant, boy, did I count him out in his last fight, which I loved. I saw that fight and I got pissed off. You know, he beat Jonathan Martinez back in March. I did bet on him. I bet on his opponent in a parlay, and that took me out of it. Actually, it was when he knocked out Martin Day in UFC 251, Usman versus Masvidal too. That was crazy. But then in this card, he defeated Jonathan Martinez, overhand left. He's been knocking guys out, and he's been knocking them out pretty badly. The only thing that saved me from losing money that night was the Bilal Muhammad fight, because Leon Edwards, Bilal Muhammad was a no contest. They refunded my money back, but I had Martinez beating Davy Grant. So nice. It's hard to count out Davy Grant now. I mean, you know, looking at that fight, looking back at that with John Martinez, I just thought Martinez was going to go in there and wreck him. And another big finish. I thought the time off was going to affect him because he hadn't fought since UFC 251. Remember that huge left hook over Martin Day got him the big finish. This guy loves to knock guys out. Kind of reminds me of other, young fighters in their heyday, like a Michael Bisping, like Anderson Silva, you know what I mean? Just coming up and getting those big finishes when we didn't really, recognize who they were. So he's another guy, we look at Marlon Vera. His last fight was to Jose Aldo. He lost that fight, you remember, back in December of 2020. And that was the number one contendership spot to compete for that belt once again. And that's why Jose Aldo beat him at bantamweight in 135-pound division, after he beat Sean O'Malley. So it'll be interesting to see what they bring. I'm excited for this fight. How do you feel it's going to play out?
I'm excited for this one too. I think this is going to be interesting because you mentioned Vera. He's coming off a loss to Jose Aldo from last December. He's still only 28 years old. 38% of his fights are actually won by KO, TKO, 50% by submission. The thing that concerns me about Vera in this fight is he absorbs a lot of significant strikes, 4.1. To be accurate, he absorbs 4.11 per round. So that's not very good.
No.
On the other hand, he is able to stuff 69% of his takedowns. So that's going to be good for him because he's going to be able to keep the fight where he wants to, which is going to be on the feet, I think. Grant, as you mentioned, he's coming off of a big win against Jonathan Martinez, brings him to 11-4. He's 35 years old, and for as good as he's been with his knockouts recently, most of his fights are actually won by submission, 62%. His takedown average is 2.3 per 15 minutes. I think he's going to try to get this fight to the ground. I don't think he's going to be able to. And I'll take Marlon Vera at a minus 225. He's a decent-sized betting favorite. Davy Grant is a plus 160 as the dog. But I'll take Marlon Vera in this fight.
I'm going with Davy Grant. I think he gets it done again. I think that, Jose Aldo exposed Marlon Vera. And like you said, he gets hit a lot. Well, Marlon... I think Davy Grant likes to hit people a lot. And so basically I see this
for him.
I don't think this is a fight that favors him, but anything can happen. But I think Davy Grant is aggressive. Does he finish him? I don't know. I would probably say this is going to be a close fight, contested on the feet. Davy Grant edges him out, but you never know. It might go to the ground. I think he's more likely to get a submission against Marlon Chito Vera than a knockout. So I would go for him by submission, just looking at what he's done in the past as well. So that's my pick. I would definitely pick him again. It's hard when you pick against a guy and then he loses or then he wins, and then next time you want to pick him because he won his last fight. But you try not to look too far ahead. And that's kind of like what I'm doing with the next fight as well. When we go and look at the main card, there's going to be a hell of a heavyweight, Sergey Spivak, Alexei Olenek. And Olenek, man, we talked about this guy, right? Look how old he is. And look at his record.
Turns 44 next month. Yeah.
That is crazy. 59, 15. I mean, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. But this guy, he competes like all year round. He does Sambo competitions, right? Grappling competitions. he's always competing. So there's no stopping him.
78% of his fights in the UFC he wins, or it is total career he wins by submission. So
Yes.
that's incredible. That's almost 8 out of 10 fights. That's crazy.
And now he's going to be taking on Sergey the Polar Bear Spivak. Sergey has, of course, just won his last fight over Jandon Vandera by ground and pound in round number 2. You know, that was his.
Not a 2-fight winning streak.
Yeah, a 2-fight winning streak. You know, he's been in UFC for a couple minutes. I think he was the last guy that Walt Harris beat as well. And Tai Tuivasa, he defeated him. That was a big win back at UFC 243. I think that was at Whitaker Adesanya card back in October of 2019.
He's a young kid. He's only 26 years old.
He is, and he's dangerous.
And he's the biggest favorite on the card as of this recording at minus 240.
Wow.
All bets courtesy of WinBet, I should mention.
Yes. I would want to go with Oleinik. Normally I would. And, you know, obviously the last time I went with Alexei Oleinik, he lost his last fight because, you know, I had him beating Chris Daukaus. Against Derek Lewis, I didn't think he would win, but Chris Daukaus, I thought that was him. And then obviously he got knocked down in the first round. So I'm going to take it easy with this one. I mean, Oleinik is a sizable underdog. He's a good value if you want to play him. He could be your sleeper in the parlay, but I'm going with Spivak overall, and it's tough because I've usually always rolled the boa constrictor, but you know, looking at that sizable, you know, favorite that he is in Spivak, it's hard to pick Oleinik.
I'm taking Alexei at plus 175. I think he gets it done.
Okay.
I think he'll find a way to make this fight dirty, like he usually does, in the fights that he's able to win. I think he gets it done, probably via submission or maybe like some kind of technical ground and pound or something like that. But I think he'll get it done.
Hey, you never know. And listen, he's come out on top before. Just kind of disappointed me in his last fight. But anyway, moving on. I think Oleinik is a great fighter, and the fact that this guy's hungry still at that age to compete, I mean, it shows other fighters, you know, that there is an afterlife to this MMA game, you know. You could still compete at that elder age. And like, it's not like he had like a time off or he had a debilitating injury and came back years later. No, he's been competing all this time. I mean, look at that record, 59, 15, and 1. So that speaks volumes. And, you know, even if he does lose this fight, if it's last fight in UFC, guy's still amazing just for what he's accomplished. Next fight, we got Chang Sung Jung, Dan Ige, 145-pound. This is a pivotal fight. Chang Sung Jung, we know that he's gone to Team Fight Ready. So where Henry Cejudo's come from, you know, guys like Bobby Moffitt, Tracy Cortez. There's just many more fighters that train out of there that I'm not naming. But Team Fight Ready, they've got a lot of great fighters. To my knowledge, is this the first time he's trained with Fight Ready? Or has he trained there prior to that? Because he used to train at Korean Zombie MMA, which is, I think, his gym in Korea.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. It feels like it's the first time, but it could be. It's not just a foreigner song, but no. I think it is the first time.
Well, he's gone work with the bantamweight Leandro Pitbull Higo. He's gone work with Henry Corrales. I know he's one of your favorites in Bellator right now, Henry Corrales. He fights in bantamweight as well.
Yeah, he had a good little run. I think I think he lost his last one, but he was on a good little streak.
Dan Moret, Luke Sanders. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's a lot of great fighters. Drakkar Klose that come out of there, and so I think he's getting to work in. I think this is going to be different for him, being absorbed into like a different MMA program, an American MMA program. There'll be some challenges along the way. Like I said, I have to look up because I don't know if he trained for. It would make sense if he trained with Team Fight Ready to get ready for Brian Ortega, just because of the whole COVID situation. So, but I believe, to my knowledge, it's the first. Actually, Lindsey Van Zant was wearing a Korean Zombie shirt in our interview. She trains at Team Fight Ready. She just moved there, who fights in Invicta FC. So I think the move is recent. I think that he's an exciting guy still. And, you know, we just can't forget, just because he lost to Brian Ortega, and it was kind of a lopsided loss, we can't forget what he did. You know, the first round knockout of Frankie Yeager, the Renato Moicano, Dennis Bermudez, an incredible fight with Yair Rodriguez that he was winning all the way up into the 5th round, where he got caught with that wicked, wicked elbow. That was just upward elbow, whatever you call it. So I try not to look back at his losses and say, oh, he's out of it. No, I try to say, think of him as the best one he could be. But Dan Ige is impressive as well. 50K, getting it done in his last fight with a big first round finish. Hardly broke a sweat. I know he's got to be riding high on that fight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to this fight in the featherweight division. I think the winner of this fight, if he gets it done in a convincing fashion, could possibly stake a claim at the next shot. We'll see. Jung is ranked 4 right now. Ige is 8. Jung is 16-6, coming off of a loss to Ortega, as you mentioned, in October. He's 3-2 in his last 5, 38% by KO, 50 by submission. The impressive thing about Zombie is, even though he's got an incredible ground game, as we used to see in his early days of the UFC and in his days of the WEC, we used to see it a lot more. But in his UFC days, now later on, he doesn't use his ground game as well. Although he has it, his takedown defense is actually 75%, so he does a really good job at keeping the fight on the feet. Ige's 15-3, coming off of a win over Gavin Tucker about 3 months ago. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and his takedown defense is 59%. So I think this fight is going to play out on the feet. I think it's going to be a back and forth, crazy fight of the year contender, and I'm going to take Ige, but I think this could go either way. And as of right now, the odds are Ige -120, Chan Sung Jung -110. So pretty much as a pick 'em.
That is a pick 'em, yeah. Like I said, I try not to think of too much about their last performances, because if you do, then I would go straight up Dan Ige, But when I looked at what Korean Zombie has done, some great fights, he's finished some great guys. He's finished a lot of great fighters. It's just the consistency of fights. He fights he'll fight like twice in a year. That's the most he'll fight. And then he'll take like a 2-year or 1-year layoff, At least he's fought back once in 2020, and he's fought twice in 2019. So I'll give him that he has more consistency now than before. But then, Yair Rodriguez, Dennis Bermudez, those fights were about over a year apart. And then prior to that, he had like 4 years off. So I'm excited to see what he does working with Santino DeFranco at Team Fight Ready. He's a great coach, and also Eddie Cha. And I know you're thinking, oh, well, you're too high on this team, but hell, they're the ones that took Henry Cejudo to premonition. You know what I mean? They're the ones that they beat the pants out of Team Illinois at Elite Amateur Fight League, and take it for what it is. And Tracy Cortez, she's been on a roll as of late as well. So, I'm not trying to get too focused on the team here, Obviously, they're just, introducing him to the team. He's just being incorporated. Doesn't mean there's going to be success right off the bat. But something tells me new looks for Korean Zombie in this point in his career is a very good thing. He's taking on a younger guy. He's no spring chicken. Is Chang Sung Jung, at 34. But Dan Ige is a guy that's just been, grinding, man. He's been doing what it takes to get bigger and bigger. I think it's a little too blatant to call yourself 50K. Did he call himself that after his fight with Gavin Tucker? Did he just start calling himself that, or was that a previous nickname? I don't remember.
I don't know when he started calling himself that. Does he still go by that?
Yeah, he goes by that because he got the first round knockout over Gavin Tucker, got him 50K.
He was calling himself that before.
Oh, he was. Okay. I mean, he's had some impressive victories, and I liked his win over Edson Barbosa. It was a very close fight. We'll see, we'll see what he brings. But I'm going with Chan Sung Jung because I think the dynamic of him working with this new team, and coaches have been at the championship level. I'm excited to see what they bring. And maybe I'm putting too much stock into Team Fight Ready. I could admit it, because, Dan Ige trains with a great team as well. It's not like, Dan Ige is just a bum. He's trained Extreme Couture. He trains with a lot of great fighters. Tim Elliott's was his training partner, but I think Tim Elliott has moved on to, it's so hard to keep track of all these fighters and where they go, but I know Tim Elliott went back to Glory MMA. Yeah, I sometimes I can't even, remember, but, I know that Dan Ige is capable of winning any fight that he's put in front of, or beating any opponent. He has the opportunity. It's a pick 'em, but I'm going with Chang Sung Jung. I'm going with the veteran. I'm going with the experience edge, and we'll see where it goes. I think that the fact that Chan Sung Jung hasn't been in wars, like he's been in wars, but like repeated wars, repeated fights, because he's had time breaks in between. I think that would help him more than hurt him, but I might be wrong. But I think kind of like, where he's at in his age, I think now's the time to go hard and see if you can get that number one contendership. Train with a new team in America. I think it benefits him, and I'm excited to see the new and improved Korean Zombie. How do you think Ige gets it done?
I think both guys are going to want to keep this fight on the feet, and I think it's going to play out that way.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a back and forth kind of affair. I think it's going to be so razor close every round. Some people are going to give it to Ige, some people are going to give it to Jung. I think it's going to be one of these just back and forth scraps with very little time spent on the ground. Maybe a few minutes here and there spent against the cage and some grappling exchanges. But I think overall this fight is going to play out like a kickboxing fight. And I think that flip a coin on who wins. I just think Ige is going to get the edge.
I'm giving it to Korean Zombie, and I'm calling like a third round knockout. But Ige's tough, and I think I might be going on an limb with that one. I think I'm putting too much stock into his, return and a new look with this new team. I might be putting too much stock, but if it does play out like you say it's going to, and doesn't really hit the ground much, I think he has an advantage there. He's going to show that he has an advantage there, and I think he beats Ige in that.
My lock of the night would be Bruno Silva over Wellington Turman.
Yeah.
Again, odds courtesy of WinBet as of June 16th. And if I was going to do a 3-fight parlay, if I was a betting man, which I don't bet on the fights, but if I was going to, I would consider Alexei Oleinik at plus 175, Matt Brown at plus 140, Casey O'Neill, she's on the undercard, at plus 120. If you were to bet $50, you could get a $726 turnaround, or you could bet 100 on that same 3 parlay and get a $1,452 payout. If I was going to do a 4-fight parlay, I would take those 3, Oleinik, Brown, and Casey, and I would either add Bruno Silva to the mix, or I would add Marlon Vera. Those
are really some good picks and betting odds, so pretty good stuff right there, man. If I were to bid on this, I'm going, of course, with a knockout with Chang Sung Jung as a prop bet. Is he my lock of the night? Probably not, but if I had to pick, like, if you want to bet on the main event, go with Sam. If you're going to bet on the main event, bet by knockout. There's some other nice fights on the undercard as well. I'm trying to see, which ones that I would go for, which ones are the best. But
a lot of fights in this card are so razor thin. Just like a lot of them are pick'ems.
Yeah, I mean, I like Josh Parisian against Roque Martinez. I would go with him in my parlay. I would go with Sung Woo Choi as well. And then, there's a lot of fights we didn't even talk about, but I would go with Diego Lima. I would go with Davy Grant, who is an underdog. I would go with Spivak, who is the favorite, and I would go with Chang Sung Jung. So if you look at that, that's a 6-leg parlay. You wager $100, and this is all courtesy of FanDuel. That's $3,532 to hit all 6.
There you go.
If I'm going to go with just a 4-fight parlay, I'm going to go with Sung Woo Choi. I'm going to go with Davy Grant. I'm going to go with Alexei Oleinik and Chang Sung Jung. $100 would win you $1,207, just because of how close these fights are. I mean, on FanDuel, it's a minus 100. It's a, what do they call it when it's even? It's dead even, right? As of now, anything can happen in these fights, and I'm excited to see what happens. I think Davy Grant would be my lock of the night. And I'm just going to say him to win, just him alone. If you bet Davy Grant, let's say you bet $50 on Davy Grant, you get $90. But if you go for a knockout on Davy Grant, that would be my big prop bet as well.
You're going lock of the night, Davy Grant?
Yes.
Wow.
I know. I mean, think about it. If you beat him by knockout, that's a plus 550. So if you bet like $100, that's $550 you win just for a prop bet. Like I said, I should probably look at the card a little bit closer, but I do like that fight. I do like Davy Grant in that fight. So
There's
it would
some
be
sneaky,
either
sneaky good card.
Yeah, it might be Diego Lima too, but I know Matt Brown is tough. I won't go against you with Matt Brown and say that's a lock. You know.
I don't take anything personal. I don't have an attachment to these fighters.
I know. I'm just playing with you. But obviously, I think, you know what? Probably Sergey Spivak, he's the favorite. That's easily, and you don't win much off of that, though. I kind of want to give people a lock of the night that they can win a lot of money off of, you know, that they can actually win something off of. So that's my lock of the night. Yeah, I do like it. I like Rick Glenn's fighting at 155. I do like Josh Parisian coming back. You know, he was on the Contender Series taking on Roque Martinez, looking to get his first official win in the UFC as part of the UFC roster. Still hasn't done that yet. Oh, he did. He beat Chad Johnson in the first round. But you know, looking to see exactly what he has to bring. You know exactly what's going to happen in his second. He's trying to get his second UFC victory. So. You know, Josh Parisian, I think, is probably, let me just switch that out. Probably Josh Parisian is the lock of the night. But there's so many fights, you know. It's just Josh Parisian is the favorite. So you're not going to win that much off of him. You know, you could win, like, you bet 100, you win $79. I mean, for sure, I think Josh Parisian is going to win that fight. So, yeah, I mean.
Sounds like he's your lock?
Yeah, I think he's my lock. But I like to give a lock where, you know, people can win some money, you know, like we had Paul Craig was the lock. You could win a lot if you won by submission. You know, I like to give people those opportunities, you know. So Davy Grant is still, you know, on the main card. That's the one I'm most confident in out of all my picks.
So if we're going to do that, then I'll go Bruno Silva is my lock, as in I'm most confident he's going to win. So that's like a surefire thing. But if I'm going to go prop bet to try to win some money, I'm going to go Matt Brown, first round KO.
Fair enough, man. And we still got to cover some pro wrestling soon. I know we got some big pay-per-views coming up. You know, with Impact Wrestling, Slammiversary, we've got the Warrior Wrestling, we've got Hell in a Cell this weekend. We just had TakeOver. So we still a lot to catch up on the wrestling side of S&M podcast.
I watch too much fucking wrestling, dude.
Hey, man.
Way too much.
I know. You got to start. Now there's independent wrestling. Just imagine IWTV, independent wrestling TV. If you had that subscription.
I can't even. I don't have. I literally.
Then you just
won't have any time. I watch Raw. I watch NXT. I watch AEW. I watch Impact, and then that's everything. Like, you know, live. And then we watch all their shit with my daughter. We watch it all. And then now we've gone back and watched we're starting from the beginning of Raw. So we watched all the first season, 44 episodes. And now we're into the second season of Raw. We're just going through it all.
Damn. Yeah, I wish I had that time to watch it.
It's a ton of wrestling.
You know what I miss? Not having
That's what I'm saying. I don't have time to watch anymore.
Yeah. Not watching ECW on the network anymore. That sucks. They removed ECW.
They have it on the Peacock. They have it on Peacock.
They did. They added ECW on there. Really?
Everything's on there now.
Oh,
yep. I was just watching ECW yesterday.
I didn't even know how to navigate through it. I hate the menus. Like, I just got used to the WWE, you know, their interface, and now I got to learn a new interface. All right, cool.
when you first go on to Peacock, just go to browse and then scroll over to WWE, and then you could just fan through everything.
Nice. Yeah. What do you think of that? We're gonna have Jake Hager. Let's get before you go. Jake Hager and Wardlow in an MMA rules match on Dynamite.
I think it's gonna be a shit show.
Yeah, I know. It's like how if you're Jake Hager, how can you not just whop that guy in the face? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're trained to do it. It's like, how are you gonna hold back? Jake Hager's gonna be like Brock Lesnar against John Cena back in 2012. Remember? He was just elbowing him. Remember? Like what he did to Randy Orton. Like he was literally going in and fucking him up.
Yeah.
So hopefully Jake Hager doesn't go that far, but
I don't think it does anything good.
No.
I don't think it does anything good for Hager's career because, I mean, you got to finish this guy quick, and that's not how they're going to book it. So I don't know. I don't know. Anything Jericho touches turns to shit.
Really? I disagree, man. But that's another discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely appreciate you being here. And that was crazy about the Ariel Helwani news. We were talking about that earlier, how he departed from ESPN. You have your theories about where he's going. I have mine. That was crazy as well. And then I was just thinking about what else is crazy in the whole MMA world is the whole thing with Paulo Costa. We'll have to talk about that. What he's trying to do. And then we have Anderson Silva boxing this weekend too, against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tyron Woodley. Yes. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and UFC Dana White. This is always going to be a continuous circus. That's going to shit show that's going to continue on and on and on. So, Tyron Woodley's fighting Jake Paul. And, what did you think of those comments Jake Paul said? I think he does. And it's hardest,
really
being a purist. Sometimes you just can't stop can't stop the hype train, man.
Wow.
I think he wins. I think the judges are probably fixed if it goes to decision. I mean, it's an exhibition, right? Jake Paul's not fighting a professional fight. So that means if it goes to decision, it's automatic draw.
I don't know what it is.
Because I know Logan Paul, that last fight with Mayweather didn't count. So when it went to decision, it was considered a draw.
Yeah, that was an exhibition. I know that. I don't know what this is.
I believe this is an exhibition too. I don't think Tyron Woodley constitutes. So I think it's going to be a safe bet is it's a draw. So.
Well, was the Askren an exhibition?
Yes, I believe it was.
But he knocked him out.
He did knock him out. You can knock them out. You can be declared a winner by knocking them out or they give up. But if it goes to decision, there is no judges. They don't count it. So, and it doesn't count for your official record. Because I know Logan Paul's 0-1 because that fight was an official fight. But he's fought more than once. I'm sure he's fought a few times that were exhibition bouts. But, that was that counted for that. I mean, it's a shit show. And listen, Dana White, has got to be looking at the numbers they're doing and be like, holy shit, Another note, probably controversial with the podcast, so I'll leave it out. But that was an interesting statement that was made by Dana White about freedom of speech in the UFC and whatnot, wasn't it?
What did he say?
Okay, well I'll stop the recording before we go there. So check out Mike Strauss, S&M Podcast. Also check out his work as well. You have a Matt Brown interview coming up as well, correct?
Yeah, it's out. It's at my website. It's on my YouTube channel, which is
Nice.
Mike Strauss, Chi-Town Hustle Media.
Cool.
And look for I'll have my first 2 articles for FanSided out Thursday the 17th, so tomorrow. All
right. Well, I appreciate you being on S&M Podcast. We'll be back next week. Actually, next week will be like an off week, right? We do have a card next week. I'm talking about 4th of July week. It'll be an off week, so we'll take that off. But we'll be back next week to talk about the next big card, which I believe is Gane and
Kane.
Yeah. So that's going to be another big one. So we'll be back to talk about that one as well. And appreciate you having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.